We're gonna go over a lot of like positioning stuff today when we go into the match in, so you can see it like on the court and everything. But so we do three-person mechanics means three people we have the court at the same time. And in terms of positioning, you either have the lead, the center, or the trail. Okay, and we have some diagrams and some like animation, so you'll be able to see this in a few slides. But this is the terminology when we are going to be saying these three terms, lead, center, and trail, throughout training from now on to to show what position like we're talking about. So the lead, kind of makes sense. Obviously, head of the play. So players come down the court. The lead is going to be in front of them. The center is usually center is the opposite of the lead, and usually is in the center of the play, or in the middle of the play. And then the trail is on the same side as the lead, and they're usually behind the play, and then on the same side as the lead. We'll go over some rotations. We really want to preach live ball movement, so when you're in these positions, even during a play, you can switch positions. So a lead could, or a trail could become a center, and a center could become a trail during a play. After a play, people change positions. So these aren't just set in stone. These terms aren't set in stone for every play, and they can change, very, very quickly. And then dead ball. So whenever we have like foul calls, violations, you're going to be changing positions. So if a lead calls a foul, whoever's on the same side as the lead, which would be the trail, would then become the lead. You'll see this more in animations, but just to kind of give you an idea of you're always going to be changing positions, or very frequently changing positions. Okay, so lead, center, trail. Remember those three. The other terms as well, just strong side, which is with the lead and trail, two officials, weak side, which is just the one, ball side of the court with the ball, and opposite, which means side of the court, opposite the table. Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan. You're the only one clapping, man. All right, we're going to go over what happens to start the game. It's called jump ball procedure. So at the beginning of the game, we have three designations for each of the three people working. You are either the referee, you're the U1, or the U2. This is the only time in the game where those names matter, and it's because each of you have different responsibilities. So the referee, that's wrong. Sorry. But the referee is going to be the person in the middle throwing up the ball. Their responsibilities are going to be tossing the ball. They're going to make sure that their partners are ready. They're going to make sure the table is ready. Once the ball has been tipped and we're going in a direction, they're going to make sure that the alternating possession arrow is going in the right direction of the team that didn't get the ball to start. The U1 is going to start over here on the table side, and their responsibility is the two jumpers make sure that they go up, they legally tip the ball, they have their hand up, and they chop the ball once the ball has been touched in order to start the clock. And then the U2 is responsible for everyone outside of the two jumpers, make sure that they're in legal position, they don't foul anyone, and then and then after the ball's been tipped, we're going to go off in different directions depending on which side of the court the ball goes. So we just got a couple examples of the game starting here. So you can see the referee set them, make sure they knew which direction they were going, throws it up, ball goes this way. So we'll watch one more here, and then we'll go over which direction you're going. Okay. So this is just a list of everything that everyone's responsible for. Another thing that the U1 is responsible for, in addition to the two jumpers, is make sure that it's a good toss. So when we start off the game, we want to make sure we start with a good toss. We're starting off the game strong as officials. So if we have one that's skewed to one side, or it just doesn't go high enough, blow that thing back and we'll do it again. All right. So in this situation, if we have the ball and we start off going in the right direction, what happens is, essentially, if the ball goes in your direction and you're not the referee, you're going to move to the lead position underneath the basket. So in this case, we're going right. So the closest official underneath the basket is going to run right here, and then they're going to move down here into C onto the weak side, And then as the referee, when you throw up the ball, you just kind of wait for everything to settle, see which direction we're set in, and then you move in to trail whichever side we're on. So you can see we'll rotate down there. They come down to C, and then trail will move over here. And then the opposite is true if the ball goes left. So here we'll have this guy move down underneath the basket. They'll come down into C, and then they'll fall into trail once everything's cleared out. It's you. You're good.
So we're going over your areas of coverage for each position of like trail, lead, and center. So the lead is the blue one and the blue shading. Trail is the green. Center is the yellow. There's going to be more explanation, but that's generally where you'll be without like the ball moving, right? Like the ball's there and lead's focusing under the basket, watching the post play and everything. Trail's watching up top and center's watching the other side. Okay, so lead, you start off like, it's hard to explain without being on the court, but you're underneath the basket, get a deep positioning so you're not like right there and the ball doesn't like hit you if it comes out or whatever. You're watching the post play mainly because that's where there's going to be a foul when they go up to the basket. You're the closest one to the basket. Have a good stance. You don't want to like get a good view of everything in front of you. You don't want to be like awkwardly behind or to the side of the play. I think that's it for lead. The center is on the side by itself. The lead and the trail are on the same side. Center's by itself on the other side. You start off even with the foul line, you watch the off-ball plays, looking for rebounds that the lead won't be able to see because they're focusing on the shot and or the layup or whatever's happening down there, and you can see behind them. You're moving with the play. If lead comes over to the other side of the basket because the ball is moved, you become trail and you move up. Yep. Trail is on the same side as the lead. They are looking, again, they're looking for the three-point shots, so is the center, but they're mainly looking for the three-point shots. You're calling it, putting the 3 up or the 2 if it's on the line or over the line, looking for illegal screens, off-ball fouls, pushes and the rebounds, other things that the lead can't see in front of them. I think that's good. Now we got a video. So we got what do you guys see?
Do you think that kind of pushes them off at this point?
Do you know who made the foul call?
I'm assuming the foul before the shot has a
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a bad angle, but I'm pretty sure the center over here made the call because it was up, and they go to report the foul over there. That's where they're running to. So that's good. What about this one? Did you guys see anything? No? Good. This is just to look at kind of their positioning. I don't see anything wrong, but just that the lead is down there under the basket watching the play, trails up here, centers over there, watching everything, making sure there's no fouls. Any questions? We're good? Yeah.
So, when the two referees, like when there's just 2 referees wrestling, they're on opposite sides. But when there's 3, there's 2 on one side, one at the top of the key and one at the bottom, and then there's another on the other side, correct? Mm-hmm. So that's it, I'm getting it correct?
Yeah, so the lead is they're underneath the basket. I can go back to hold on a second, if it'll. One more. There we go. So this is how you'll be set up with the 3 referees. The lead is the blue, trail's the green, center's the yellow. So the trail and the lead are on the same side together. Okay, I'm going back. Okay, so what'd you guys have? Who should have called the foul? What you got?
Should have called the foul.
I mean, lead or center.
Yeah, I believe the lead calls it. It's kind of not a great angle, but I'm pretty sure this lead over here calls it. He's gonna go report it.
So like the person like calls the foul has to report it, or who?
Yeah, they're the one that saw it, so they have they're the one that blew their whistle first, so they have the best understanding of what
Someone else
happened.
take over their spot when they go report it.
Yeah, we'll go over that. I think that's next, but yeah, so if lead goes to report it, then they all rotate, and then you're good to go. And then, oh, these are gray areas. That's like where they cross over between the referees and everything. So if it's they're just kind of like areas where you can both call. If whoever has the better angle has the best call. You have some. All right, what'd you guys see? Yeah, so lead and center both put their hand up here because let's watch it again. But it is under the basket, so lead does have the right call, and center might have saw something else, but they both got the foul, so.
Yeah, the center didn't even have a good defense. You could see the arm.
I feel like the
Yeah. In cases like this where they both call, you can talk with your partner, ref, and make sure both had the right thing, or who's had the better view of the play.
In this video, you can see how fluid the referee's movements are. So this happens middle of a rotate. So you see the lead starts over here on the near side, and then they move under the basket. The trail starts to place a trail up here and becomes the center. You can see as the play's going how far down he moves to get that view of that play and get the foul in case the lead can't get it, because it's a mutual coverage though that they both have.
Does he run the baseline?
The lead? So the lead, they're not,
So the guy on the baseline right now.
yeah, so he's not gonna be like running the baseline. He stays on one side of the basket or the other, but you're supposed to move to the other side when there's like, yeah, so wherever the ball is where you move, and then your partner refs will switch depending on what side you're on. Yeah,
Go ahead and grab your
Pause
seats,
there.
everyone. And then just so that everyone sit down there, we can hear you still.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so just to recap for that group that just came in, obviously we were supposed to be at the night gym. When we tried to go down there, we had an issue with the setup. It was still set up for an event earlier. That's why we're up here right now. So we're going to go down there after this. Thank you all. For class officials, I'll get you guys that I haven't gotten already. I'll get you all after training tonight for your attendance this evening. So if you want to start back up with officiating positions and whatnot, so that way when people just walk in to get that, since that is obviously priority.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
All right, so we're back at the beginning with areas of coverage. There's, for those who missed it, we do a three-man coverage, so there's 3 refs on the court. You have a lead, a center, and a trail. The lead is in the blue, trail is in the green, center's in the yellow. That's where you're going to be, and then obviously you rotate as the ball moves and everything. That's just a standing still visual of where you'll be. So the lead starts under the basket. You want to have a deep positioning so that you don't get hit by the ball if it comes out, and you have a good view of everything. You're mainly watching the post play for any fouls on the shot or any pushes underneath the basket. You want to be able to see everything, so get an open position and move with the ball. So if you're on the right side of the basket and the ball moves to the left, switch over so that you can see everything. The center is on the side by itself. They start even with the foul line, and they are looking for any off-ball fouls. They're looking for any rebound fouls. They also are responsible for some three-point shots, but that's mainly the trail's job. You will put your hand up if it's a three-point, or you put the 2 fingers down if it's not a three-pointer. Basically, you're just looking for any travels, violations, anything like that, that it's up out of the paint. Trail is on the same side as the lead. They're looking again for three-point shots, fouls on the rebound, illegal screens, anything off the ball or up more towards half court. Now we got videos for you guys. All right, so new people, what did you see? Who do you think called it? I don't know who's.
play one more time?
Yeah, it'll keep going on loop till you.
On the
Is that a hand check?
reach of foul.
Do you know which ref called it? Yep, the center called it, so they're going to run and report it, and then we will carry on with play. So let's try this one. All right, did you guys see any fouls, anything the refs were doing? Nope, new people that just came in. Got anything? All right, so this one there's no foul. It's pretty good play. The refs have good positioning. The lead is in the back left. That's trail, that's center. Just good positioning as a crew. All right, which ref made the call? Trail.
Was it on the trail?
It was a trail. Good job, guys. All right, one more. All right, what about this one? Lead, yep, lead made the call. It's in their area. They were there when it happened. They're gonna go report it and then they'll rotate as a crew. All right, so these are gray areas. Those are areas that kind of cross between the refs, and you have either one of you can have the better angle. Just depends on where the ball is and where the players are really. All right, what'd you guys see? Who had the better view of the foul? Or all right, so this is also a good video of rotating as a crew. So he's the trail at the start, and that's the lead, but then the lead switches over because the ball moves, and he becomes center. That's good rotation. On a call like this, it is, I believe they both had the same call. It's just center might have had a better angle on a hold, but I think they both got it. All right, so what do you guys see? Look at the
Trail's eyes are.
yeah, that's what I was gonna
The
say.
one that marks the three-pointer. What's he watching? He's got that shooter all the way up and all the way down. So shooter's fine, doesn't get fouled there, but he keeps watching the crew coming back down to the floor because he's allowed to land back on the floor without being interfered with. So that's his responsibility. When he marked that shot, he's watching the shooter, and then your center down there is watching the basket.
All right, any questions about that?
Well, Ryan just said it's really important. As the trailer, you're not watching the shot. You have to watch the shooter.
Cool. All right, we're gonna go another video. All right, what do you guys see? A foul? Okay. Who do you think had the better view of the foul?
Center. I think the center.
Yeah, I think the center had a good view of this because it happens right there. But they both did call it, so if there was confusion, you guys can talk about what you both saw. But there was a clear foul that was called, and that is it. Do you guys have any questions about what you're looking for, what you're watching, who's in charge of what? Nope. Cool.
Chill. Okay, so I'm doing inbounding the ball switches and procedures. It's just sort of to help you know where you're gonna go, where you need to do, and how you're gonna move. Line's responsibility. So the lead has the baseline. So ultimately, if someone steps on that line, you're gonna have the best view. You're gonna be able to have the whistle on it. So if you're looking at the right primary, you will have to help some opposite side out of bounds, so you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. So that's why trail has to help you on that side, and the center has to help you on the other side. So it's not like you have the whole boundary to yourself, so you can have help either way. It's just you need to focus on that. Trail has his side and hers, or Trail has his or her side, so he has like the mid-court line, which is where you get most of your backcourt violations and everything like that, and then you have to look down the sideline and be able to help the lead with that side, because he won't be, or he or she won't be able to help the corners because they might be focused more on down low or something like that. So it's very important not to ball watch. And then C, which is also the center, is on the side by themselves. So you have the wider range of the court because you're by yourself, but you're sort of in the middle of everything. So you can see stuff that happens in the lane that the trail and center might miss, or trail and lead might miss, because you have a different side of the view. So this is sort of like the lines of responsibilities that you'll see. So the green has the trail, which you can see still goes down all the way to the baseline, because the lead might not be looking in the corner the whole time. They're looking down low because the big guys are staying down there, the big people. So like they're not focused everything on the side. And then the center has everything on the opposite side because they're by themselves, and they also have to help down low because they have a different angle to look at than the lead has to look. And then and then here's your throw-in spot. So if this is your throw-in person, the center or the lead is going to have to handle the ball because they're on the baseline. So that means the trail will be on the same side of half court, and then the center will be on the opposite side, and you'll still have the same areas of responsibilities in that way.
The other thing before you click on for the map, the other thing this also refers to is if we have a violation or a foul in one of these areas. So if there's a violation or a foul right here in this blue, it's coming out on the baseline. If it's up here, it's coming out on the sideline closest to the spot. So that's also what this is referring to. Of anything in this blue, any violation, we have a foul, we have a hit, we have a push, whatever it is. If it's a non-shooting foul, it's coming out on the baseline closest to the spot that it was. If it's a same thing on the sideline. So we have a violation, a foul, it's a non-shooting foul, it's coming out on the sideline closest to the spot that it was at. And then obviously we have the key. We want them to be throwing the ball in outside of the key. We don't want them to be inside behind the backboard, because if they want to throw it long, they're going to hit the backboard and be out of bounds. So we want them to, if they line up, say right here behind underneath the basket, tell them, hey, take a couple steps out for me and come right here outside the free throw line, and then put them in that spot right there. So that's why this is no designated spot throwing. We don't want them to go right there. If we can pull them out to one side, that's what we're going to do that.
And it's very important to make sure you have it on the same side, because if there's a foul up here on that side, they're going to get angry if they have to come on this side, because some people shoot better with their left hand on the left side. So just make sure you get the sides right. And then this is reversible, so if they're taking out on that side, you just flip-flop. The lead's up there, the trail's back there, and the center would be on this side by themselves. So the throw-in procedures, if whoever's giving them the ball to throw in, make sure all your partners are ready. Make sure they're knowing what's going on. They're not still reporting the foul, or they're not talking to another player to make sure they're calming down before something bad happens. So make sure they're always ready. And this is pretty much in anything. Before the game, inbounding, free throws, just make sure all your partners are still ready. And then make sure that since whichever side the ball is being inbounded, there's always two referees on that side. Because that's where the focus is going to be on. And then whoever's handing them the ball is the only one that should blow the ball in for play. You don't need to have the center blow the whistle on the other side while the trail or the lead's handing them the ball. So, and then handing or bouncing the ball. You always hand the ball on the baseline, and when they're on the sideline, you bounce the ball. And when you blow the whistle to make sure they're ready, make sure you back up and then blow it, because they can't pass in before you blow it, and you don't want to blow it right in their face because it might make them angry. So, and here's just a play to show you. So, what you see is very good mechanics. He's pointing to which side the ball is going. He points at a spot where they're in. He makes sure all the refs are going and the video stopped it, but you could see he was about to bounce it to him, and then he was backing up as he was doing it. So just make sure everyone's going to be waiting on you. You don't have to rush for them. Everything's on your time. If you have to slow it down a little bit, then you have to slow it down a little bit. No one's going to get mad at you for that.
Yeah, and that's a good spot too, where you can kind of look at your partners and make sure they're ready for the play to continue. You don't have to put it in immediately once you get it in your hands. Look at your partners, make sure they're ready for the play to start. Once the play's ready, then you can administer the throw and get it going.
Yeah, because you don't want to hand them the ball and they throw it in really fast and the lead's not paying attention because he's looking at some other spot and there's a foul that they missed. So this is a good example for under the 2 minutes because you can see, I think that's Andy up there. He clocks in the scorekeeper. He lets them know that you're supposed to start the clock. So it's not going to apply as much before, but the last 2 minutes of the game when the clock starts and stops on the whistles and stuff, you have to make sure you clock it in because otherwise our scorekeepers might not be able to see them pass it in, or because they're not supposed to start the clock until the ball's touched another player. So as soon as you put your hand down, that's when they're going to start the clock. And this is just good mechanics by him bouncing it, backing up, making sure everyone's ready, and then letting it go. And then remember to always count if you hand in the ball, because you got the 5 seconds. This play is a good example on why you should make sure you have eye contact with all your other referees, because one of your main priorities is whoever's the trail or the center, whoever's closest to the side where they're subbing, they are supposed to allow them to come in. So you're supposed to just put your hand up to let the person inbounding and know that you're supposed to stop play. And then I think that's Brandon, as soon as the guy was off the court, he points to the official down low and say, you're good to go. And that's where the eye contact comes in, because you don't want the dude down low throwing it in while he's still coming on, and then you have 6 players on the court and 2 of them aren't even paying attention to the play. So it's patient, that you can't start until they're fully off the court, and then everyone's good to go. Okay, so if the ball's staying in the front court, if this is the ball side, the center's going to be on it, because this is sort of going to talk about transition and switching. So the ball goes out of bounds and it's staying on this side of the court. The lead's going to have to come over to take the ball because you're only supposed to inbound it with 2 people on one side. So the center is going to have to move to trail, and the trail is going to move on that side to center, because you're always supposed to have 2 people on the same side. No one switched positions but center and trail, but they don't switch sides of the court. They just move down the court, so they're in better positioning. And it's the same when it goes out of bounds on the side. If it's on this side, the lead has to come on this side for the second person to be on the same side. Center will go to trail, and then trail will go to center. And if it's closer to the bottom half to the lead can also inbound it and bounce it to him and then back up. But if it's further up, like free throw line or extended or one of these boxes, then the trail can also take it to inbounds. The lead's not the only person that can inbound the ball. And then this is something called a bumper run, where we take the ball and go the opposite way. So this is in the backcourt. So if the ball goes out of bounds at the sideline, trail is going to go all the way down, and he's going to become lead. Lead's going to come and take his position, but he's going to be in the back, so he's going to turn into trail, and center's just going to keep going. So it makes no sense for the lead to just run all the way down and become lead still, because there's no point in him running the full court while trail's just sitting there waiting for him to do it. So to save a little bit of time, lead's going to come take trail's spot and just bump him and make him run all the way down. And then center is still by himself. He or she just runs to the other side of the court, about free throw line extended, to make sure they have that one person on that side. And it's the same, even if it's all the way down here, it's the same thing. Center is going to come all the way down to lead, because since the ball is inbound on this side, lead has to come on the same side to get 2 people on the same side, and then trail on the other side just turns into center. So you can still have the 2 people on one side and the 1 person on the other side.
Yeah, so this is free throw administration. That's what we're going to go through.
So yeah, we're going over free throw administration. So we're going to go through a lot of like the animations you just saw, just of like when a foul is called by X position, like who goes what. Like that's the kind of rotations that we're talking about. 'Cause that's the time we're going to be rotating the most. So this is when everybody's stationary, just like everybody's lined up to see on a free throw and who's responsible for who. So we'll start at the lead position, which is the blue one. I don't really know why the colors are like not the same, but the lead is actually the green, and you go across the lane in terms of your responsibility. So the lead will have the players closest to the bottom, those 3 players.
And you'll also have this person right up here on like your side.
So the 1 person closest to the lead on the opposite side, and then everybody on the other side. The center then has, when we were talking about the lane violations, the center's responsibility because they're lined up with the shooter. So in terms of free throw administration, we want the center to be on that free throw line extended so that they can see any lane violations by the shooter. And then the center also has everybody else on the outside.
And with that, you'll be counting like for 10 seconds. Normally, most people won't take 10 seconds when they shoot a free throw, but you'll just stand there and essentially your hand will be down and you'll just kind of count like 1, 2. Don't go too fast, but also don't go too slow. Don't let them stand there for a long time, but that's another responsibility that you have as center.
And then Trail has the 2 on the other side right there. So, foul reporting mechanics. First bullet is just only 2 officials are moving. So, in terms of like when 1 person calls a foul, obviously they're moving into the table, but then somebody also has to replace their position because they're gonna go to the table and they're gonna become trail. Okay. So we mentioned a little bit yesterday when you first call a foul, we want to first freeze to make sure that we get the right player, the right number, and the right. You just kind of want to freeze and make sure that everything you called, you understand like what you called. Okay, pretty much. So you want to get the color and the number. You report the foul, and then you stay at the table side, meaning the table's over here. I report the foul, and then I just turn around and become trail. Okay, that's pretty much when we say the calling official. Okay. Go around the players, not through them, and then the table side official. So whoever is on the table side of, like, so the person who reports the foul is going to be going to the table. Then whoever is the table side official, whether that is lead, center, or trail, could be any of them, is going to fill in for whoever just called the foul. Okay. So we'll go over pretty much what I just said with a lot of animations. It's a lot easier to see with those. Okay. This is a lot of words. So this is just mechanics. If you watch basketball, it probably looks pretty similar. I'll kind of explain some stuff. So that's normal free throw. So you have the trail all the way to table side. This is on court 5, so the scorekeeping table's over there. On court 6 is on the opposite side. So we have the trail right there. The lead is going to be the one that bounces the ball. So we have Zach in the middle. He's the lead. He bounces the ball. He gets out of the way. This is the second free throw. So when you're lead, you want to bounce the ball, but then you also want to get into your initial starting position about 2 to 3 feet off the baseline. Okay. And the center is probably around here. Hopefully, free throw and extended right where the shooter is.
And with that, when you're lead and you're bouncing the ball in on the last free throw, make sure you always go table side, because if lead decides to come out here, center's not in a position or they're not prepared to go run down the floor, and then trail is going to be in the wrong spot. And so just make sure whenever you do free throw administration, always go table side, because that'll just make it easier for everybody's rotations.
Yeah. I mean, when you find yourself having to pass the ball to the shooter, I mean, you'll see, just look at the table, you'll see where your official is, and that's the side you're going to go through, go to. So same thing, tables on this side, lead official bounces the ball, gets table side, center, is right there. And another responsibility, so especially in ours, when it's under 2 minutes, like Twigger was saying, the clock's going to stop on free throws. So the scorekeeper is not really going to be able to see sometimes who touches the ball first after a free throw. So this another center responsibility is once the shooter releases the ball, center puts their hand up, and then you chop it in if it misses and somebody touches it. If the shooter makes the free throw, all you do is you don't chop it in, but you put your hand down, and then the lead then puts their hand up, because they're the ones that are going to be, the ones seeing the passing. Okay, so that's in terms of just mechanics, what we do when we're chopping the clock in on free throws. Okay. You can see also with his left hand, it looks like he's kind of counting in his head, just 10. Okay.
So this is like what you should not do. So you couldn't hear anything he just said. He didn't know who he was calling the foul on. You see him have to wait and figure out which number. He's like,
does it out of order.
Yeah, he does it out of order. So basically what you should do when you call a foul is go up, blow your whistle, put your hand up and just freeze. And we say that because it's gonna be really fast paced and you're gonna wanna like go to the table and then you're gonna forget whoever the foul is on. They're gonna line up and you're gonna be like, I don't know what color it was on, I don't know what number it is. So make sure you stop and look for that. Also, you can't hear it because he's really quiet, which is another thing. The box for us, that glass, you have to speak up because you can't hear anything in that glass. And so you're gonna have to come out of your shell if you are quiet and be loud, because the person in the box will probably buzz at you if they can't hear you and make you come back and be like, hey, I can't hear you, what'd you say? And one other thing, when you say numbers, he's saying 23, but if you could hear him, he's saying 2-3. And so as a scorekeeper, I'll hear the first number and think it's number 2, but it's really number 23. So make sure when you do call numbers, say like 23. Don't be like 2-3, because there could be someone who's number 2 and number 3 and a 23, and then we don't know who the foul's actually on.
So watch this again. Watch how the officials move. Don't worry about what happens, like the foul or anything. Just watch the officials move. So who calls the foul? What position? Lead. So lead's under the basket. We had Trail, who was him. He was table side. So he's the one that's going to be switching. Okay. The center doesn't need to do anything because we don't need to be moving more than we have to. Okay. So the Trail simply becomes lead. Landy was lead, so he becomes the Trail because he's got to report the foul. Okay. And yeah, he saw him with his mechanic count the basket, so everybody knew. So he calls a block. Everybody knows it's counted, and he holds up a 1, so everybody's 1 shot, so everybody else knows they're lining up as he's reporting. Okay.
The other important thing there is make sure. We said yesterday the first thing you report to the scorekeeper is if you're counting the basket if it goes in. Make sure you actually do that to the scorekeeper, because your scorekeeper might not know basketball, so they might be relying on you to give them that information if they're counting that basket. So that's a really important piece of information that a lot of times our officials kind of gloss over and skip. So that's something you really need to make sure you're giving to the scorekeeper.
Alright. So now we're going to go through examinations with some calling officials. So we have the lead, non-shooting foul on the baseline. Okay. So the lead is going to go. They call a foul on the baseline. They obviously go report the foul. Who switches position? The trailer or the center? Who's going to fill in? Trailer. Yeah. So you can see the table up there. That's a pretty simple one. Trails goes down there, and they just switch positions. Okay. Non-shooting fouls, and then just pass the ball and move on. All right. So we have the same thing. Non-shooting foul, but it's the center. Okay, so center moves. Which one gets to the center position? Trail. Okay. Because that would make sense for the lead to go to center, then we have to make the trail move. Then we have all 3 people moving at the same time. Remember, we only need 2 people moving. Okay. So yeah, the center. Yeah. So that one's kind of a weird one in terms of, since the foul happened on this side, we're going to keep the ball on this side. So then the lead just moves down to the other side of the baseline. The previous trail just becomes the trail again on the other side, and the center becomes the center. So on shooting fouls, you're going to become the trail every time when you report it, but sometimes in a situation if you're the center and you call a non-shooting foul, you'll probably become the center again. Yeah.
The center is the green, right?
The center's the red one.
The center's the red one,
Yeah, the
right?
center's the red one.
But you moved him from up there, right? He was originally right. Yeah.
So this is how it started.
Oh, so the person on the baseline wasn't down there?
No, yeah. So, because the center's calling foul on this side, so we're keeping it over there. And then all the lead needs to do, yes, we have 3 officials moving, but the lead's not moving positions. All he's doing is moving from one side to the other, so 10 feet, you know? Alright. So the trail calls a foul on the sideline. What happens?
He just tells them to go.
Yeah. That's all that happens. So the trail just turns around, reports, and move on. Alright, so the lead, non-shooting foul on the baseline. So we have lead, goes reports it. Who's moving? So the center becomes the new lead. The lead will now become the center on that side, and the trail becomes, the trail just becomes trail. Okay. And sometimes it's like when you report the foul, you want to become trail. It's easy to just turn around and become the trail, but you just have to make sure you're aware, because the last thing you want is to have 2 trails, no centers, okay? Or 2 centers, no trail kind of thing. And this will happen a lot. Like rotations mess up all the time, like literally all the time. Rotations mess up. So if you see, like you have two on the same side, you have like a center and a trail on the same side. You have to know that's also a part that you have to know your official's name, so you can tell him or her to go down to become lead. Or if you have a center and a lead on the same side, to tell them to back up a little bit. Okay. Center, non-shooting foul on the baseline. Okay, so if you have a baseline foul, center is calling it. So the center's reporting it. Where do they go next? Backward. Was it? Trail. Yeah. So they're going to be on the same side, but they're actually going to be the trail, because remember, we're not going to keep the ball on the same side. We're not going to move the ball. Okay. So the trail moves down the center, and the previous center becomes the trail. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to get into some shooting fouls. So you have the trail on the opposite side of the table. They call a shooting foul. So who now is going to take their spot, their previous spot? Yeah, so the center's going to take their spot. What side of the table is the lead going to go to? Or I can't to say which side of the court. So yeah, they're going to the table side. So since a shooting foul, whoever's reporting is going to become the trail again. Center goes just to the other side of center, and the lead is going to do the administration and then eventually go to the table side. Okay. So now we have a lead that calls the shooting foul. Okay. So lead goes, reports it. Who becomes the new lead, and who is passing the ball to the player? Yeah. So remember, the table. Whoever is the table side official is going to be the one that's switching. Okay. So lead reports it. Center becomes the lead. Trail moves down a little bit, and that's how we end it. All right. Center calls a shooting foul. So the center reports it. What position is the center going to become? Trail. So then the lead, they just, they're the same position. They don't need to move. The trail has to go down to replace the center on the other side. Okay. Trail calls shooting foul. Turn around, report the foul. That's it. Okay. Alright, we have already had this one. Center calls a shooting foul. He's the table side referee. Technically we have 2, but yeah, it's the trail. It's a simple switch. Center becomes trail becomes center, lead does nothing. We already had this one. Who changes the lead? Trail. Okay. I think these are pretty much all. So this is if you would call an offensive foul, it looks like. So say we're under the basket and the lead calls an offensive foul. So we're going the other way. Okay? And so it's a similar it's a similar concept in terms of the positioning, but obviously we're just going a different direction. So what do you think happens? The lead's going to report the foul, okay? What do you think the lead's going to become next, okay? Would it make sense for them to become the lead again, so go all the way down and become the lead, to just turn around and become a trail even though we have a trail right there, or become a center? What do you think? Center? Who is the center table side? Are they going to be switching with anybody? So trail and the lead are going to be moving. So the lead is actually going to continue to be the lead, but just changing the side, okay? So he's going to move down there. He or she's going to move down there. Trail's going to get the ball and, you know, administer the throw for the next possession. The center just moves down the court like normal, okay? Remember, you don't want to be moving, as an official, you don't want to be moving more than you have to, okay? So, like, you know, it doesn't make sense for, you know, the center to be involved in moving, you know, if they're not going to be on the table side, you know? So now the lead is the opposite side of the table. That's why it's important to know, you know, the table side officials, okay? So if the lead is opposite table, reports a foul, we have the center on their side now and the trail's on the other side. So who becomes, who's passing the ball, or who's administering the throw-in? So who's going to come down here and administer the throw-in? Trail. So we're going to have trail move down there, then we're going to have the lead probably go over here, and then center's going to move down there, is what we're saying? Okay. This one's actually kind of weird, because, you know, we don't, like I said, we don't want people moving too much. We don't want, if we had, so the lead go over there, if we had the center, or which one did you say? You said the lead would become the center or the trail?
Separate the trail would become
the throw. Okay. So yeah, on that makes sense, because the trail's right there. You'd say, oh, the trail just needs to move down a little bit. But then we have two officials, one that needs to go across the court to become a lead, and then one person goes to the center. Okay. It's not really fair. This center has to go across the table. The trail moves like 10 feet. The lead moves like 15 feet. Okay. So in this situation, the lead will become the center. The center becomes that, or becomes the trail, and then the trail becomes the new lead. Okay. We want to make it even. You know, you don't want one person moving across the court. Okay. This doesn't make sense.
So center's table side every time, right? Like every time, like every game, center's gonna be table side.
It switches. Sometimes it'll be table side. Sometimes it won't be. It just kind of depends. That's why we say live ball rotations. Like on foul shooting, if the lead goes down the table side, he's gonna have a trail on his side. But then if we have like a foul on that side, we're gonna have a lead on the other side, a trail, and the center's gonna be table side. So it just depends. Definitely nobody's in one spot. That's what it is.
Only one person is outside one position. It really is.
Yeah, no, I mean, you go from lead to trail in one play. I mean, if a rotation happens, you go from, the lead changes to a lead, but then you go from center to trail. Then you'll become a lead on the next possession. So really, you're never in one position for more than, maybe 30 seconds. And if you're in at the same position for more than like a minute or two, then you're not calling fouls, you're not calling violations, you're not rotating kind of thing, okay? So we have a center, calls a foul. So the ball's going to be, I think this is loose, but yeah, so the ball looks like it's probably going to be inbounded right there. So the center, we've been seeing it pretty consistently. After this person calls a foul and we're going this way, what are they going to become? Yeah. So they're going to move down there, become a lead. Who's going to become the trail, passing it in? Lead now or trail? Yeah. So out here, lead's going to move right here. The simple move. We don't want trail moving across, then lead going down there. That's too much crossing, So all the lead's going to do is move there, pass the ball in, and the trail's going to become the center on the other side. Okay? So we got a center foul call on the opposite side. Do we have any ideas who's passing the ball in now? Yeah, center's coming to lead. He becomes trail. Trail becomes center. Okay. Trail calls foul, same side. They become lead. He passes the ball in. Does everybody understand? You you're gonna definitely have to get used to it. Okay, you don't really notice it just watching basketball. You're not watching the officials how they rotate, but after officiating for a week or two, you'll definitely start to see when you're watching how the officials rotate, and you have to definitely be aware of it. It's easy to get caught up in the plays, caught up in the game. Okay, but just remember to always be aware of your partners and where the rotation is. But I think we should be probably pretty good on rotations.
So we get rolling over live ball rotations. This can be considered something that is advanced, something that is, as you get more comfortable on the court, you're welcome to start doing. But if you go out there your first night and you're nervous and you're just still getting used to where you're supposed to be at lead, trailer, center, you don't think that you have to go out there and start moving around and doing rotations. I didn't start doing rotations till like 2 years into officiating, so it's something that kind of comes with time as you get more comfortable. So don't be afraid to do it. You don't need to go out there the first night, but we're going to go over it because it is something you can do as you get more comfortable and used to what you're doing. So the big thing with rotations, you're using your peripheral vision at all times. So if you stick your arms out, that old adage, you stick your arms out like this, you can see your fingertips. You got to use that when you're rotating. So you have to be aware of where your partners are at all time, and it's about feeling it. So if you see your partner coming over as you're watching your zone up here, and he or she is coming over across the lane, you got to then know, all right, I got to shift up without looking directly at them, because if you look directly at them, you're going to miss what's going on in front of you. So that's why I say when using your peripheral is figuring out kind of where everyone is, feeling it, because you all have to move as a unit. So imagine that all three of you are tied at the hip with string, and if one person starts moving, it's going to pull the person over there who's going to pull you up to your next position. So you have to think about that as you're moving out there with live ball rotations. So you can see right now we have our setup. We got our trail and our center opposite, our trail and our lead opposite the table, and our center table side. We have a situation where the ball is over here, it gets moved over there to where the center is, and then say they want to, our players aren't going to move for me, but say they want to start, the ball comes over here, and then they got a really good player, which some teams do, a really good post player down here that they want to feed the ball to. So in that situation, we want to try to get as many referees to that side to help out, because we want to watch the ball, but we want to watch this matchup down here at the post, because odds are that's where the most action is going to happen. So as this ball starts going this way, our lead will go to what we call the B position. So we have A, B, and then C, and then we restart as we go to the other side. So they close down right here, and then as the ball settles over here, or the player starts, maybe dribbles to the corner or passes to the corner, then we want to make our cross. When you make your cross, you want to be deliberate. You don't want to lollygag as you come in right here, because then your partners aren't going to know what's going on. Are they going? Are they waiting? So if you know you're going, you start going immediately, and then set up when you get over there. Don't, and then everyone's confused with what's going on. So then, obviously, the person goes over, our trail slides down, becomes the center, and our center slides up to become the trail. So we keep that two-person balance at all times on the court. So here's an example of a live ball rotation. You see the ball comes over here, it settles, our lead shifted over, and everyone shifts up, and our center goes over. You can see not much action, so we don't have to shift back necessarily, but if this post player decided he wanted to come over here and they start going at it down there, then we would want to shift back to the other side. So you can obviously keep moving back and forth, but if you can stay on one side and prevent the amount of movement, because the more movement we have, the more confusion we'll have. So if you can prevent movement, try to, but don't be afraid to take advantage of those matchups. Try to get a better angle on the play of what's going on. So you can see in this situation, players are settled over here. Andy is the trail on this side. I'm sorry, I'm in your way. It's tough what looks better? If he calls a foul from over here, or if this official slides up and calls it from over here? The second option. I mean, it's a good call, most likely, but it looks a lot better optically if the official right there calls it. So in this situation, they decide to rotate. You can see Brandon shifts over to the far side, the official slides up, and then Andy slides down to C. So that's a situation where we want to be aware of that and can take advantage of it if possible. So again, you can see we come down the court, we set up, we have a foul, our two officials switch. That's a good time to just brief your partner, hey, it went in. They let them know it's only one shot or two shots, spot, let them know as you're crossing and kind of communicate that. And you can see we set up for our free throw and go from there. So what's one thing we see on this play, do you all think, from a positioning standpoint from these officials?
The center should have moved up.
Sorry?
The center should have moved up and the trail moved down.
Yep, so if you look, they are both exactly even. Now that's not always a bad thing. In this situation, you can see the trail went down and then came over almost immediately. But we didn't pick it up here because we have a matchup that's going on right here. We can take advantage of that matchup, but when we see that, then we want to make sure we're sliding back up. Because if we go down the other side, we're going to have a situation where we may have no lead and we have two centers because you both think that you're still at center. So it's something to be aware of. One thing that I was told is always, before you run down the court, take a quick check of where your partners are at. Because if you do that, you'll know that, hey, I'm good to go to center, I'm good to go to lead. But that way it helps prevent you from going to the same spot and we have two leads or two centers in a situation. So it is better to have two centers than two trails. We don't want, we don't want two trails because then we're further away from the action. We're not seeing as much action. So it's better to have two centers, but we don't want to stay like that. We want to make sure that we correct it because if we go down the other side of court, we will have an issue where we'll have two centers and no leads, and we don't want no lead because the lead is a key part with post play going on. So again, if you see that, hey, we're in two centers, make sure you adjust, figure out where your lead is, and that person just slide up and become our trail. So responsibilities while rotating. The lead is responsible for their old primary area. So again, as you're shifting over, you're still keeping an eye where you are, but once you get to that new side, you pick up your new lead area. Then as our center shifts back, they're becoming our trail, and as our center shifting down, then they're responsible for that whole center area. So we want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on what we're watching, that when we're walking across the lane, we're not doing it like this, because then we're missing all the action going on. So you want to make sure as you're closing down, as you're crossing, you're still keeping an eye, and that your partners are also keeping an eye. In a situation, say we're rotating for a foul shot, we're rotating so we can report a foul, we got a non-shooting foul, we want to keep an eye on the players. So if you're not the official going to report the foul, you should be watching the players and what's going on. Because that's a situation, if we have, say, a hard contact on a shooting foul, it could escalate to a point where we got pushing, we got a punch thrown, and we need to make sure we have eyes on who it is and what happened. So if you're not rotating, if you're not moving on a foul shot, keep an eye out for what's going on, because things could get heated in an instant. So when not to rotate. Don't rotate on a quick jump shot. So if the ball's going across the three-point arc and the player immediately goes up and shoots, don't worry about rotating. Like I said, the thing to think about is settling. When the ball settles to a side, when you see that the action is all stayed on one side of the court and you're still on the opposite side at lead, then you want to shift over. Also, the other thing to keep in mind, when all officials in the ball are not in the front court. So once we won't start rotating until everyone is in the front court, and then we can start thinking about rotating. But if it's a fast break and you run immediately over, we're going to miss that and lose track of our rotation. So wait till everyone comes up, wait till all your officials are there, and then we can start thinking about rotating and going from there. So again, fixing an unnecessary rotation with a quick turnover and the lead banana back. So the reason why it's called banana move is because it looks like a banana. You'll curve into it. So a situation where we had a quick turnover, the lead was getting ready to go over, ball got turned over real quick, and it went down the court. Say the ball went over here, the lead stayed over here. I don't even know what he was trying to do on that one. Okay, so you'll see with him, he comes over and then he goes right back. So in that quick second, we don't want to then throw off the rotation. So as you're beginning that lead with the quick turnover, come back to your area, throw it in from right there, and proceed down the court as usual. There's a situation where the C can initiate the rotation. And that's the video we saw where Andy's up top calling across the court and the C's down and moves up. It's a situation where the C can do it because he has a matchup on their side that they can slide up and take advantage of. Again, better angles, we're closer to the play, it looks better optically. So that's a situation where C can do it, but other than that, the lead is the one that always initiates the rotation, is always the one that does it. So you can see here, we have a trap up here at half court. And the situation all similar to the video, we have a trap up here. The C needs to slide to get a good angle on it, can do so. Trail, we need to then pick up on it. Other partners need to pick up on it and adjust accordingly. Last second shot. Now this is important for the sole reason of we need to have an eye on the clock. We need to make sure that we're knowing when the ball is released, if it was before or after the buzzer. So I will ask, if the ball's still in someone's hand at the buzzer, does it count if it goes in? No, it has to be off the hand as the buzzer goes off. So the people we want responsible for that is whoever is opposite of the table, whether the center or the trail, is going to be responsible for, did the ball get off in time? And if it does, we wait to see what the result of the play is. If it doesn't, immediately blow your whistle and wave it off. Because if you're blowing your whistle as the ball is in the air and it goes in, you could say, I blew my whistle. You can show that you blew your whistle multiple times. The ball's going in the air. Players will start to kind of disengage as they hear that whistle. If you wait till it goes in and then you blow your whistle, it doesn't count. They're going to be really upset because then they can say that you waited to see what the result of the play was and decided that you didn't like that shot. So and therefore are now waving it off. So it's important to keep in mind that that optics piece of, if you know the horn has gone off and they did not get that shot off, immediately wave it off and let them know the shot is no good. So in this situation, our table is right here. And you can see our center on the far side has an eye on is responsible for our clock, and then obviously see this player doesn't get off. He doesn't wait until to see what the result of the play is. He immediately blows it the second he hears that horn go off. So just some quick tips when officiating basketball. On a block charge play, which is some plays we talked about last night, don't come up immediately. You'll see it a couple times where Andy will blow the whistle and he'll immediately block. Don't come up immediately, especially if we have a double whistle, because in that situation, if you come up like this and Matt's my center, and he calls offensive, we have something called a blarge, and blarges are not good because now we have to report both fouls, and we don't want to do that. So that's why if you can blow it, take a quick second, and then give your preliminary block or give your charge if that is. So keep an eye on that. If a double whistle, so say someone has a violation and someone has a foul, get with your partner, whoever the other person was that called it, and just chat real quick. What happened first? Because that could be important for what it is. Because if we had a push before the travel, and we're calling that push, the push is what we need to call, because that's what the travel resulted out of, was someone pushing him. So if we have a situation where we're calling both, we need to keep an eye out for what was first. See the play, anticipate, don't assume. You'll be out there, you'll see a player coming down the court and go barreling into the lane. You'll think that someone's definitely going to push them or definitely going to hit. They're going to take out someone standing there. Be patient. Don't be afraid to wait a second, see the play happen, and call it. The one thing that I know I get myself in trouble with, and I'm sure, and most officials do, is they anticipate something happened to make sure you get that call, make sure you sell that call. So don't be afraid to just hold on, see the play through, and call that foul. Again, anticipate, don't assume. And double check clock for scoring time. So make sure that if we have some situation as you're running down the court, don't be afraid to look up to the clock. Don't be afraid to look at the score. Make sure that everything is correct. If we have a three-pointer going and we signal 3 and we see 2 go up, stop the game. Let's fix the error, because the teams are going to start screaming about it soon. So again, if the clock is stopped and it should be running, or the clock is running and it should be stopped, be aware of that and fix it as soon as possible. Real quick before we go downstairs, if you all want to go clear the gym, we're going to check out a couple videos. We'll go downstairs, we'll play a game, we'll do some stuff.